Welcome everyone to Sustainable Packaging Podcast with Cory Connors. I'd like to welcome one of my favorite friends in this whole packaging universe, my very good friend, Amy Leinbach. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, my friend?
Good. Thank you so much for taking time. I believe we met on Clubhouse. Is that
We
right?
did. We
Yeah.
did. The one and only Clubhouse taking
Such
over
a
my life.
It's an amazing social media platform. For those of you who don't know, it's in beta testing right now, but and for Apple phones only. But they're going to allow all phones here soon. I think they're just beta testing Android, so that's
Oh,
exciting.
good. Oh, good.
Yeah, but yeah, let's focus on sustainable packaging. And Amy, I'd love to hear just a little bit about your background and how you started inventing products and uh, developing companies and all this. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I guess unofficially I've been inventing for since I was a little kid, just anything and everything. I think it all stems from problem solving. I'm in love with problem solving and especially in developing systems and creating efficiencies where maybe some don't exist. And when I had my daughter, she's 6 now. It opened up. She was my first and only human child. I have two canine, and it opened up this whole world of new experiences and therefore identifying inefficiencies that may have existed in some of the systems. And when she was about 7 months old, I created a specialized towel for her because we, after bath time, would lay her on a countertop.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up having piles of towels for cushioning for her. And I went searching for a cushion bath towel, to protect her from that. Couldn't find one and went about creating one. I don't sell that anymore. I discontinued it last year when we morphed from kind of a baby business to more of an eco lifestyle business.
Mhm.
Uh, but as she's been getting older and we discover more stuff, the inventions have really followed the path that I've been taking with my family. And eco consciousness has definitely been at the forefront of everything we've been doing kind of in our home lately. So the invention follows the identified problems.
Right.
So,
Right. Like all great inventions, you're solving problems,
yeah.
and you're doing it in a very sustainable way. Your company, Big B, Little B,
Mhm.
is incredibly impressive, and I definitely look up to you and your products. It's just
Oh,
great
thank
products,
you.
really impressive. You recently sent me and my wife a stack of towels,
Yeah.
and they have nearly replaced paper towels for us,
Yes.
uh, and they're washable. So it's
Yeah.
just things like that that we can all do. Make a massive impression on sustainability in our lifestyles. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about your packaging for Big B Little B products?
Yeah. I think when I am planning out packaging for the products, um, there are a few factors to always consider because we sell direct to consumer and we also sell to independent retailers who have online shops and brick and mortar shops. And we also sell to major retailers. And for all of those channels, there are different priorities, right? Like when you're in a major retailer, you're really focused on how the product is going to present to a consumer walking by. A consumer has no knowledge of your product. Um, and assuming that there won't be someone there to explain what it is. So packaging has to be well presented and descriptive, right? And when you're selling direct to consumer, you don't have to worry about that as much because if the consumer purchased it, they purchased it because they saw the website listing and they read the text. And so for me, it's always been like figuring out the right mix between creating less waste and yet still creating a product that is communicating effectively to the customer or even the end user in general for gifting. And so as we've discussed, in the past, the priority for me is to use less, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about decreasing the overall environmental footprint, I think no matter what materials you choose to use, the less of it you can get away with, the better,
Right.
right? Because, and especially if you're not going to be able to repurpose that in any way. And a lot of the packaging you can't necessarily repurpose, you know? Uh, and so in if you saw my product, if you saw one of my products, for example, the Scrubby, which is a small silicone scrubber, its the dimensions are only 2 inches by 3 inches. Since it's made of silicone, it doesn't need protection, right? But it is a unique product and it does need to be communicated in a certain way to the customer. So if you look at it, it does have packaging that would be disposed of, but it has very little of it. So, just a little plastic, blister window type thing
Mhm.
and a little bit of paperboard. And that's about it. But the
Yeah.
same product, if you bought it on my website, comes in packaging that serves um, a function on its own. So the same product would come packaged in what's called like a soap saver bag, one that if you use a bar soap, you can drain the water off of it and you can use it as its own product. And that's really what I go for, to the
Great
greatest
idea.
degree possible, alternative use, some kind of multifunctional purpose. And that's what you'd find with most of my product packaging, and extremely minimal waste.
Right.
So
Very impressive. We received the packaging from you, and I thought to myself, this is what it should be. This is what we can do, and oftentimes you're even reusing corrugated. Is that right?
yes, that's a
Yeah.
huge part of my, I would say, my wholesale business. So when
Mhm.
I'm shipping to an independent retailer, maybe they order one case pack of something, like 12 units of something. Maybe they'll order 144 units of something. So the box sizes vary. Um, but when I ship, I would say 99% of the time it's packaged in a box that has been used before.
Awesome.
So you'd see a sticker on it that would say, "Hey, we collect boxes from friends and neighbors and we give them a second life," is the basic message. And
Right.
so therefore you don't have to worry what it says on the outside. Yesterday I sent something that said bodybuilding.com. And I think it's like the third time I've sent something from them. And it's because a good friend of mine has ordered, you know, gym equipment this year and shares it with me. And so I just put the sticker on it, and this independent retailer who sells home goods in another state has a bodybuilding.com branded box. And then once they see the sticker, my goal with the sticker is to, one, make them understand that, help them see that this is okay to reuse it, and that
Yeah.
if it came to them in good condition, which it almost always does, I can't think of a time where it's been reported that it wasn't, um, that they can take that same box and send it out again.
Yes.
Maybe they're sending stuff to their own consumers and they can use it again. And so maximizing the available resources that are typically considered single use.
Right.
I think that the most sustainable way, one of the most sustainable efforts that we can make easily is to reuse as much as possible, to stop putting the single use label on something that just doesn't need to be, right?
Totally agree. And you said that you had a box that you received recently that had been used 5 times.
Oh, it was
Is that
so
right?
good. It was so good. So I do a lot of collaborations with other businesses, and one of
Mm.
them is a soap company because it complements, my business so well. And she knows my passion for reusing boxes. She has her own passion for reusing boxes. And so she sent product to me in a box she got from her soap base company. Okay.
Right.
And then shipped me the completed soaps. When I sent her my product, then I was like, I'm going to send her this box. And we sent it back and forth. And by the time I sent it, it was sent to somebody else. And I had to write on it, this is this box's fifth trip. And it was
Uh,
really exciting because before that, the max I'd ever, witnessed a box being sent was 3 times.
so hard to track them, right? Yeah.
It's so hard to track, but it would be so much fun to eventually know how many times that single use
Yeah.
box got to travel before it truly belonged in the recycling bin, you know?
I totally agree. And you and I share this passion for reusing
Yes.
corrugated. We've talked about it many times, and it's necessary now. We have a
Yep.
corrugated shortage globally, and
Yeah.
we need to be creative. I received a package yesterday from Amazon with 3 boxes, and it could have very easily been packaged in one. And
I've seen that too. You
it's
know, you have this
frustrating.
box that's great for shipping, right? The product is already in its own box and could have been shipped, and then it's packaged inside another box. And, you know, I, I don't know that that's necessary, in that case.
Yeah,
But hopefully, those boxes, then somebody sees them, and decides to share them in some
right,
way. That would be a nice byproduct of that little incident, I'd say.
right. Or create cat hotels or other things like
Yes.
that.
Yes, I've seen some amazing hamster houses being made out of used corrugated, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'll watch that on YouTube all day.
I totally agree. And now I have to ask you the big question of my show.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask this to every guest, and it is, can packaging be sustainable?
Ugh, you know, I think you know by now I'm a very positive person.
Mhm, mhm.
But my answer to that is going to be, if I have to pick a yes or no answer, my answer is going to be no. Because the the packaging, one, we need packaging. We
Right.
need to protect the goods in some way, so we need it. Will that packaging always be able to be reused? No, I don't think so. Um, and anyway, it needs to get from point A to point B.
Right.
And so the overall picture, can it be sustainable? I doubt it. I mean, there's hopefully there, and I know there are people working on it to try to create systems where it would be more sustainable. And I think
Yeah.
we could probably, in within a year, I think we could take the current practices and increase the sustainability by like 80% in a year. And I
Oh yeah.
think it's about buy-in from all of the parties, the consumers, the businesses, the manufacturers. If we just all committed to doing less, and to reusing, I think we can make a change so quickly, so quickly. But will I ever be able to say it can be sustainable? Generally speaking, I'd say no, and we have to take ownership of that, I think.
And it's a real lesson. It's an eye opener for all of us that um, recycling is awesome, and
Amazing.
and it's totally possible,
Hmm.
but it's not happening at a rate that we need it to happen.
Yeah.
I think corrugated gets recycled at 80% right now, which is great. But how much energy does that take to transform a box into another box?
Right.
If we can reuse it a couple times, all of a sudden the sustainability of corrugated skyrockets.
Yeah.
And so I agree with, there's a lot of work to do, and I think it can be done. I I'm
Yeah.
I think we can make it happen someday.
I think you're doing a lot that I really appreciate in raising awareness to the issue because, one of the reasons I say is that I've just become so in love with Clubhouse is because there's so many things that I've become aware of that didn't even occur to me before. As somebody who's living a pretty eco-conscious lifestyle, I never even considered much about flexible plastics, for example.
Right.
Like it was just kind of something that exists. It's just there. It's just something,
Yep.
and just the awareness of it has really helped me make better choices. And so I think that a lot of the things you're doing, on TikTok and with this podcast of just, I think people want to make the right decisions. I think people will take an extra step if they're aware of the impact that they can have if they do. So, I've been saying since the beginning of these conversations that I wish I was better at marketing because I think if marketing people get involved, a lot can happen really quickly. So,
Oh, yes, absolutely. And there's so many outlets now, and that's the reason I started this podcast, was because of all of the interest on TikTok and Clubhouse
Hmm.
and LinkedIn, and of the things that I've been making, people want to know more. People
Yeah,
are thirsty for education about this topic. And frankly, I learn something new every day.
yeah,
So think about you and I, people who study this, we're learning how much of a gap there is that we have to educate everyone,
yes.
um, especially people that just want to know. They're craving this information.
And I think it's, what I've seen, and I believe you've seen recently is, it's not super easy to understand. Like, especially with recycling, it is confusing, and every, the region that you live in determines a lot of the choices that you can make. And so if we can try, collectively to try to sift through this information and try to chunk it into manageable pieces to the greatest degree possible, I think it can make a huge difference.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's so many things that say biodegradable, compostable, and people throw them in the recycle bin. Think, oh,
yep,
it said it's recyclable. Well, no, it didn't
yeah,
say it's recyclable. It said it's compostable. Well, what does that mean? I don't know.
hmm.
That, so we have to educate our consumers as to what to do with the packaging when they're done with it.
And I think, there's a lot of good steps happening out there, and I think there's a lot of stuff that's working against it. Like, we brought up a subject the other day, recycle ready. And so I think that, yeah, educating of what does that mean, recycle ready? What does biodegradable mean? What is, what I mean? What do those numbers mean on the bottom of packages?
Right.
I'm excited that we're uncovering some of that. I'm excited to learn it. I'm excited to share it. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's an amazing topic, and I
Mhm.
I'm so thankful that you are making strides towards uh, more sustainability. Great
I
job.
think brand owners and manufacturers really have to, because we're putting out so much of it,
Yeah,
and taking responsibility for the end of life of the products that we're putting out in the world, I think is absolutely critical for brand owners like me.
100%. And you have been such an advocate. I think what a lot of people don't know about you is you are mentoring a lot of new business owners, and
Hmm.
for free, which is,
Hmm.
I commend you so much for taking the time to go onto Clubhouse and have these discussions with all of these brand new companies
Yeah.
who are, they're you 5 years ago,
Yes,
or
exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
and you're talking them through how to be sustainable and how to do the right things. And kudos to you. This is a really big deal to me, um, because so many people just wouldn't look backwards and help like you are.
I love it. I think it's one of the greatest parts of my business, honestly. I love connecting with other people who are one step ahead of me, at the same spot as me, one step behind me, because I think we all learn and achieve at different rates in different ways. And there's so much to learn. There's so much to learn. Um, yeah. And I learn something every time I work with somebody new and help them. They're definitely helping me too.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great point. The best way
yeah.
to learn is to teach, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And to hold yourself accountable,
right.
right? Do you practice what you preach? In the
Hmm.
choices that you're making, did you make a choice that aligns with, what you share and what you advise? It really reminds me on a daily basis. So,
Awesome. Can you tell us about your new product, or is that a secret?
no, it's not a secret. Okay, so as you mentioned, oftentimes my products are secrets because
Yeah.
there's intellectual property associated with them, and this uniquely is not one of those products. So
Okay.
when I came out with the Clean Bee towels, as you mentioned before, they're a great replacement to try to decrease your reliance on paper towels, not to get rid of them completely, just to decrease
Right.
as much as possible. And so a natural extension of that is a spray bottle for non-toxic cleaners, because when we have, all of those plastic bottles, and they're just filled primarily with water, so I wanted to create a spray bottle that was made of glass. However, I have a 6-year-old, like I mentioned, and
Right.
I don't want a glass bottle on the countertop. She's at the age where we're involving her in chores. I want her to wipe down the table. She loves the towels. She loves cleaning up with them. And so, yes, I want to make it with glass, but we always have to look at the good news and the bad news of the material. And that's in every application, right? And
Yep.
the bad news of the material is my 6-year-old would be handing a glass bottle, and we have a tile kitchen floor. And I can just, you can see that, you can see what could happen. And so it's going to have a full sleeve of silicone, much like some of the drinking water bottles have, and make it easy for people to make their cleaners at home with, say vinegar and water. We can do such an amazing job, and with essential oils, or if you want a stronger cleaner, you can go buy a cleaning concentrate, but we don't need to be shipping water in the mail. That's my feeling. Don't ship the water, just open your tap, you know, you know, so
Absolutely agree.
that's the goal with the spray bottle. You have the towel, you have the glass bottle, you can use the resources at your fingertips. And when you get the supplemental materials that you need,
Mhm.
they're smaller, less.
Less
So
and
less.
doing your part, doing little
Yep.
bits here and there. If
Hmm.
everybody did that,
Yep.
I had somebody comment on a post I made the other day, a real negative thing about, oh, I don't care about that. I said, what if everybody thought like you?
Yeah.
And they responded, oh, I'm sorry, I was just having a bad day, this and that. And I thought it's so important that we all have a mindset of trying and making efforts. uh,
And I think that's contagious. I think you bring up, I'm glad you brought up the point about the negativity, because it's there. And I think, and it can be, for some, it can be a nice outlet to get rid of that energy on social media. But people read the comments, and if you're spreading a good message in the comments, that can get people's attention too. And so
right,
just those conversations and the opportunity to take a negative comment and turn it positive is something you do really well. Well, think about it this way,
right,
just this way, a little
right.
different.
Let's take one more try at this. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
let's just
can.
think about it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much.
yeah, my pleasure.
Well, anything else you wanted to discuss about your company, or could you just at least tell us how do we get a hold of you? How do we buy your products? Uh, we love Big B, Little B. Is that the website? Is that
Yeah,
big?
bigblittlebee.com, like a
Okay.
buzzing bee. And that's how you can find me. It's me on the other side of that contact form. It's me on the DMs on Instagram. You can find me on Clubhouse if you want to speak directly, which I always want to speak directly. It's always my customers that are finding new applications for my products, but I think one of the few brand owners who will tell you, unless you need one of my products, don't get one of my products. If you have reusable towels you're happy with, or you want to cut up pajama pants and use them as your rags or replacements for paper towels, use that. Use what you've got first. And if you're using a loofah in the shower already and you have one and it works for you, and then it falls apart, yeah, then there's a time to shop for something that's more sustainable. But the most sustainable option for you to have is always the thing you already have,
Yes.
right?
Well said.
So
Well
that's
said.
my message about shopping, I think. And this shirt that you're looking at came from a clothing swap years ago that I've been doing with my girlfriends for many years, and I'm proud of it. Love
Good
my
for you.
clothes. Didn't
Yeah,
buy it at the store.
and it's a great shirt, and
Thank you.
there's no reason we can't reuse and trade and up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So well
And
done.
it's fun. That's everything I have. Almost, I'd say an enormous percentage of my clothes come from clothing swap, and they have a great story. They're just fun, and they're still in good shape. And when they have no more dignity left because I've worn holes through them, well, then I'm done with it. Then
Right.
it's not going back, to somebody else. But for now, it works great for me. It works great for my friends, and we always have new fun stuff for free.
Well, thank you so much, Amy. Your sustainability message is uh, absolutely amazing and impressive. So thank you for your time
Thank
today.
you. Thank you for putting this podcast on. I love the idea. I love the guests you've been bringing in, and I love the diversity of all different people from all parts of this. Because between us, I think we can make a lot of changes.
I think
So
so too.